This is the Smart Nora, an anti-snoring device unlike any you've ever seen. Also, unlike any anti-snoring device you've ever seen, it actually works. It's available now for $300, but if you have a partner who snores, you will know that that is absolutely worth every penny, if it'll mean you get your sleep back. Let's take a closer look at the Smart Nora and see how and why it works. So before we look at the device in more detail, let's talk briefly about the overall concept here. So the core part of the Smart Nora is this air inflation pillow, I guess you'd call it. Now this slips into your existing pillow, and when it detects that you're snoring, it'll inflate, thereby raising your pillow up, raising your head a little and adjusting your airways, which is what causes the snoring. Now I must admit I was skeptical because there's already so many anti-snoring devices and pillows and masks and what have you out there. But the difference is this one actually works. At least it did for me, and I can't see a reason why it wouldn't for you. Now this isn't a medical device, so you don't need to get a prescription. It's classified as a lifestyle enhancement. You can just pick one up online direct from smartnora.com, and they have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so a 30-day trial period. However, they do say that you should allow about a week in order to get used to it. It may be a bit disconcerting the first time you try it to feel your pillow being raised up and down, but I promise you do get used to it, and after a while you just won't notice anything at all. It'll just work. So here's the nitty-gritty of exactly how it works. Inside the package, you'll find this really sleek felt-covered carrying case. Everything fits neatly into this for traveling, but it also houses the main air pump. Now this pump isn't removable, so don't try and take it out of the case. Now it is almost whisper quiet. You really won't notice it when it activates, especially if it's placed underneath your bed as it should be. You'll also get the air pillow itself, as well as a comfort case if you need it, and a tube that connects that to the main pumps. And then there's this wireless pebble, as they call it. Ideally, this should be placed no more than 4 inches above your head, mounted onto, say, the backboard. However, if that's not possible, and we've actually been testing like this, just place it on a bedside table. It should work just fine. So this is what houses the microphone and detects when you're snoring. The pebble itself works off of Bluetooth, and it's wireless with about 1 week's worth of battery. To recharge it, you simply plug it into the USB port included in this pack. Now the pump itself operates on mains power, however it does actually have a battery inside of it. So if you do need to travel, and if you're in, say, a camping where you don't have a power port, you can actually use this for about a day, but in normal use you'd keep it plugged in all the time at home. And this can then be placed underneath your bed with the tube running up to the air pillows. There are 3 inflation settings set on the pump here, and this controls how much it inflates essentially. So on high you might find that it's raising your pillow up too much, so your head's almost vertical. If that's the case, just swap it down to medium or low. The whole system is very unobtrusive, and any guests that you had really wouldn't know it was there unless you pointed it out to them. It's completely non-invasive, and you don't need to sleep with any additional sensors attached to your head or anything. So if you are traveling, everything folds back neatly into this little case, and you can just carry this around with you. It's pretty lightweight. Everything fits into there. It's a very neat solution. And while we're on the topic of traveling, I would also like to commend the inclusion of different power plugs. Now these adapters are going to cover most countries in the world. You just clip them on and off the AC adapter to use them. It's very simple. Great inclusion. So using the device after you've done the initial Bluetooth pairing, which just means plugging it in over USB, it'll do that automatically. It's all very simple. Just place this by the side of your bed or above your bed, and then when you're ready to sleep, you tap it once and it'll turn on. If you hold it down for about a second, it'll put on a 30-minute delay timer, so you won't accidentally activate the air pillows when you're falling asleep. There's a little white LED status indicator on the top here to tell you when it's on, but don't worry, it's not too bright. It really shouldn't keep you awake. Also underneath there are 5 different sensitivity settings, so you can change how quickly it reacts. From then on, you're all set. If it hears you starting to snore, it'll gently inflate the pillow, then immediately deflate again. The entire cycle takes about 30 seconds to 1 minute, and you'll stop snoring. So the only downside to this approach is that it can't eliminate your snoring completely. Obviously, it's a reactive solution, by which I mean it'll work once it hears you start snoring, but it won't proactively stop you from snoring in the first place. It'll just react when it starts to hear you. In most cases though, this really won't be a problem. So in a typical scenario, when your partner starts snoring loudly, it'll wake you up, and then you'll have to either sit there or listen to them, or more likely you'll kick them, shove them, whatever it is to get them to shut up. The problem is that because your brain's then been activated, you'll have the problem of trying to get back to sleep again. With this, we found that even if my partner did wake up, it was only very briefly, and she would notice that the pillow was inflating and I stopped snoring, and she could go straight back to bed again without having to use the mental energy to think much about it. And that was only on the occasions that she could remember waking up. Of course, most of the time, it's going to detect your snoring even before you get loud enough to wake someone else up. Now, we also tried it the other way around. I placed the inflator under her pillow so I could see it working, and I also confirmed that when she started snoring, it would inflate and she would stop. It was a bit more difficult for me to test though, because actually when I fall asleep, I'm a pretty deep sleeper and I wouldn't pay attention to her snoring anyway. It's actually really fascinating to watch it work. It's a really intriguing and unique solution to the problem of snoring, I think. So there are some potential situations you should be aware of where it might be less effective. The first is if you sleep with a white noise machine on. Obviously, the Pebble uses a microphone to detect when you're snoring, so you'll need to turn the sensitivity up to high and ensure that the noise machine is further away from you than this is. It'll detect the loudest noise and it'll work on the basis that the loudest noise is your snoring, and then it'll activate. The other potential problem is if you have a fan running. Obviously, don't point the air towards the microphone here, otherwise that'll completely wreck its ability to hear you snoring. So, should you buy the smart Nora? Absolutely. If snoring is something that prevents you from getting a good night's sleep, then this is definitely a solution that should work for you. It's reasonably priced, but more importantly, it actually works, assuming your snoring is just normal snoring and it's not, say, sleep apnea related. For most people, this should absolutely work, although you may need to tweak the sensitivity settings as well as the amount of air inflation that goes on. So it may take up to a week to get the correct settings for you and get used to the whole thing. It's non-invasive. You don't need to stick any special sensors on yourself since it just uses a plain old microphone. You don't need a prescription to get it, and it's really just a little box that fits under your bed with a tube that goes into your pillow. Like I said, if you do need to travel around a lot, it's going to pack neatly down into this little box, and it has a backup battery for both the sensor and for the air pumps themselves. Now, it's worth noting that there's also an app in development at the moment which will pair with this, probably with the microphone, and help you to analyze your sleep patterns or how much you're snoring. However, I should stress that an app is not necessary for this to function at all. It works fine just without it. This is the product you're buying. The app is just something they're creating to give you a bit of extra features. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you to make an informed decision, and if it does, go ahead and click on the like button. If it doesn't, let's talk about it down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more weekly reviews and technology tips from all of us at makeuseof.com. Until next time.